Hello, everyone. Welcome to Drumfills Kafé. My name is Denis, and welcome to another episode of this 9th season. Thank you so much for being with us tonight. As usual, I will invite you to go check out the YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok pages of Drumfills Kafé, to do a like, and to subscribe to those pages. I will also invite you to check out the main webpage, drumfillscafe.com, to know all about the tips, editorials, past interviews, etc. Go check it out. It all can be found there. Go visit. Thanks so much. Tonight is actually a very special night for Drumfills Kafé. On this very night, we are celebrating our 4th anniversary. Yay! Thank you so much for following our contents for all these 4 years. It's very much appreciated from all of us. Thank you. In order to celebrate, basically, we're having a contest. Yep, you can win some lovely swag, some t-shirts from the amazing Canadian drum company, U-Drum Company. What do you have to do to enter this contest? Very simple. Number 1, you follow the Drumfills Kafé and U-Drum Company Facebook pages. Number 2, you subscribe to the Drumfills Kafé website mailing list. And number 3, follow the Drumfills Kafé YouTube channel. Do those 3 things, and you'll be entered to win one of the t-shirts in this contest. There are 4 t-shirts. Good luck to all of you. Now, let's get back to tonight's guest, who's patiently waiting in the background. My guest tonight is a drummer from The Hague in the Netherlands, a country I hold very much dear in my heart. She has been the drummer for the many big productions, such as the Stardust theater production Cirque Stiletto, Cirque du Soleil's Amaluna, and is currently the drummer in the resident Cirque du Soleil show Hoya in Riviera Maya in Mexico. Please welcome the very talented drummer and percussionist, Emilie Cleuver.
Hello.
Hello. I hope I said that correctly.
Yes.
How do you say it, just so we get it correctly?
Emilie Cleuver in Dutch, you would say. in English.
Very nice to meet you. Thank you so much for accepting.
Thanks for inviting me. Nice to meet you too.
So you're in Mexico, so the weather must be lovely right now.
Oh, like every day I enjoy. It's getting warmer now though, but I like it. I like this temperature very much. So it's very different from The Hague right now, because I hear just my mom just now like, oh, it's rainy and windy here. So yes, I'm very grateful to be here. I have to say.
How long have you been doing the Cirque du Soleil Hoya at this point?
Almost a year now. I started end of April last year, so I've been here almost for a year.
Cool.
Yeah.
So far, so good. Very enjoying it.
Yeah, it's an amazing show and amazing people. And the place, I'm in the middle of the jungle, which I love. Like the animals, the trees, everything. No, it's beautiful, really.
Cool. We'll get to the details for that, but I do want to go back a bit. You have sort of a very interesting background. There's a lot of drummers I've interviewed that have been surrounded by musical families and have an uncle or somebody. In your case, I think you were pretty much born into it.
Yeah.
Your father is, of course, was the first drummer, you said, from the band Focus, which I'm sure some people from our audience know from the song Hocus Pocus. And your mother was also a popular singer
Yes.
Back in the day. So that must have been interesting. Do you have any recollections or memories of growing up into that musical family?
Yeah, there was always like music in our house, always. And also I grew up with the drum school. Like my father started drum school when I was really young. So and that was really next to our house. So we had a kitchen, and then all the teachers came, hang with us in the kitchen. And we looked up to them, like they were like professional drummers who really, cool stories, really fun, like always joking around. And so it was like really, great way to learn music as well, because there was always music in the house. We heard the music from the studios. My father always had like different music he loved, and then everybody would hear it, and so it was a very special youth, I have to say. And so it was indeed like I grew up from young age with music.
Did you follow them around when they were playing shows, when they were in the studio? Did you remember any of that, or?
No, not too much. It was more like at our home, and of course, like we were playing because it's three of us. I have a younger brother and an older sister, so all of us like went in the studios. We had 2 studios, so it was more like centered like over there, and maybe like there was. Sometimes I went with my father. He did also management of one of the drummers, so I came with him sometimes for a clinic. And now I'm talking about it, like I'm thinking, yes, where you had like the, how do you say, like special, like how do you say, like conventions, stuff like that, music conventions, and we
Right.
go there all days, or long days. I had to go also, or had to come for fun, of course, and also to help out a little bit with, so for the drum school as well. There was there were like a lot of like options to go to the stuff, and like.
So instead of playing Nintendo, you were playing music, basically.
Well, I also played Nintendo though, but yes, but a lot.
When did it start for you to? Is it because of your dad, basically, that you said I want to try drums, and you just playing around with them? Was it natural when you tried them? Do you have a memory of that?
Yeah. I think the funny thing is, like, because my little brother, he got my father got him like a little drum kit to start with. So it was funny, like he more expected my brother to start the drums, but we all started a bit. But for me, it was natural, I think, because it was not like really a plan. It was just for fun with one of the teachers, and then you start like, And for me, I think for relatively the really, that I got more serious. It became we got more when I got older.
Right.
Beginning was more like, just for fun. So it was not not a must as well. It was just doing it. And my father was also really harsh, so he wouldn't say at the beginning, you have to pursue this. He was like, he was like, it was kind of natural, but it was not like it was like really slowly that I started like to get serious and more like, I feel the passion for it more and more somehow.
Right.
It was natural, so it was just in a natural way, definitely.
I think that's good, because that way you keep it fun for the especially if you're young, of course. If you start doing all the theory stuff and all the the rudiment stuff, you're like, ugh, boring.
Yeah, exactly. It was more just in the beginning was just playing with songs, and it just, of course, then you have to know, okay, you have to do this groove. You start with the so it was more about that, and then of course the fills, like different groupings and stuff like that. But it started like really more, of course, like more the grooves, and the technique was like the part that came a little bit later before I started with that.
Cool. What were you playing to? I'm curious. I think you were saying in your bio you were doing like I think it was Michael Jackson and Earth, Wind and Fire. Is that what you liked back in the day?
Well, like, and and also like because my father liked that a lot too. Like it was depending a little bit on that moment, like because it was of course like a lot of years too. But yeah, this is like something always like Quincy Jones, different kind of Prince, also Michael Jackson, Toto. That was also like always like different tracks of Toto. Yes, Wind and Fire. Peter Gabriel. I remember like all like. So many, but for me, like I will always be like MJ fan, and also Quincy Jones. I love all the productions of Quincy Jones. I'm a big fan. So then that's something. Also, I grew up with my father. Like, listen to this arrangement and this, like, so yeah.
Yeah, for sure. No, for sure. I listened to Thriller not too long ago, just to listen to it, and I was like, oh yeah, I remember that. I used to sing that, and it's still good today, and it still works, and the arrangement is interesting, and yeah. No,
yeah, exactly. Still, like these albums is amazing. It's still so inspiring, and it's really amazing. Like even so many, it's so long ago, but still these productions are really amazing.
For sure.
Yeah.
When did it start to get serious then, from fun to getting serious?
Yeah, I think because I was also like really always shy. So when I think I started maybe really taking lessons when I was 15, but I was really shy. So I wouldn't think of like going on stage when I was 15. So I think like maybe 18, 19 when I went to college, then I started with my first band. So which is kind of late, I think. Like I think most drummers will start earlier with like playing in bands and stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, then and when I got on stage and like playing in bands, and I felt more and more like really like, oh, I want to do this, and like being really inspired to practice more. So I think around that like 18, 19, 20, yeah, and then from then on I was like really more like eager, and I remember always looking at different auditions and different styles. I wanted to try everything, and play as much as I could. So that became more and more. And then from then, of course, like your network is getting a little bit bigger. You start a little bit, of course, you start from scratch, and then it's getting a little bit more. And then you hear this and that, and then try, to do as much as you can, play as much as you can, and then getting more ideas, what you would like to do. And then at some point, that was my the point where I became a freelancer. I got the option to play in Cirque Stiletto, and that was my first full-time tour. And that was it was with a famous Dutch singer, but the Stardust indeed works with Cirque acts all over the world. So it was. They compared it also with Cirque du Soleil, and that was my first tour, and then that was also like the start for me, like to check out Cirque du Soleil, because then that was the first time I knew about Cirque du Soleil and checked that out, and that started my interest for Cirque du Soleil.
I must admit that that's quite a tour to start off with. How old were you when you started that? Because it's a big production.
It was. I think 30. I was 30 when I did that one.
Come on. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So it was an amazing show to do. I still like think about because it was also an amazing group. We had the best time also. Had a lot of fun, and it was an amazing show, really, and also like really spectacular with dance and the singer and the acts. It was a really great show.
Yeah, so for our audience members, basically, if you haven't seen it, I was looking it up, and it's a big show. So it's dancers. It's the main singer is I forget her name. I think it's
Ellen Ten.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Ellen Ten Damme.
Yeah, and she's the main character, and she doesn't just dance and sing. She actually does like acrobatics, and she goes into the air, and you guys, the band, are in the background sort of thing, and you're playing to all of this. Mm-hmm. How many songs did you have to learn? That seems like a big show.
Yeah, that's a good question. I'm thinking even if we had intermission. Wow, that's interesting. Like I'm thinking now because I remember. Yes, it was like hard work because it was also like with rehearsals and like creation, of course, because they did like 3 runs with right. I'm thinking now, but it was like, but it's also normal, like, but it's really intensive. Like you have like you prepare, of course, before, so you have everything. You are already prepared when you start the rehearsals, and then of course they change a lot. So, but it's like I think it was at least 2 weeks, 3 weeks of rehearsals. But so it's a big show, but also like you have the time to prepare, and then so it's not like at that moment when you start, it's of course a lot of information, but also you have the time to prepare as well. So it's really like last time I heard like a friend of mine playing in a show, in a Mexican show, and she was saying the show is 4.5 hours. And then when I heard that, I was like, how is that possible? 4.5 hours. But I feel like this was, I think, maybe 1 hour and a half show in total. It's definitely doable. It was not like that's too much information, but it's because you prepare, so it's all good. But yes, it was a big show. And
how did you prepare? Was it all charts? Was it just a lot of rehearsal with the band?
Yeah, you get charts before you get charts, definitely. But sometimes, of course, you need to be prepared. Things will change as well, or you get charts. You just they change stuff, or like I remember indeed there was one song, for example, with dance, like really they had it was choreography with a lot of accents. We had to play those, and it depends, like, because the whole process is, you have to be like flexible, because you can, like, they change stuff and they add stuff, and so stuff like that, but that makes it really fun too. But in general, like, you can, like, prepare, because you have the scores before, and for me, I don't like, I really like to prepare. I know the song, so I can focus on the sound and intensity and stuff like that. So I don't want to play and read at the same time.
Same time, right.
So for me, I just play it a lot, and that I don't have to look, except for maybe some parts, or like some, like breaks or accents. But in general, I like just to somehow get it in my system in a natural way. And then that I just know, and then it's also easy, because if they say, "Oh, we cut this," or we add 2 bars, or like, or then it's easy to adjust, and then you make, so in that way it works for me. Like, prepare, have the score, because you need to have something, or sometimes you make your own scores. They don't. It depends a little bit which.
Okay.
But yeah.
So basically, to have it within you, in your body.
Yeah. For me, like, if you have a lead sheet, you just know a little bit. Having the structure on paper helps, and then it's a lot of the time for the drums, you don't have, like, exactly the total part. Of course, you're free to play your own fills and stuff like that.
Cool.
To have, like, the idea of the structure of the song, and that, yes. But indeed, like, playing in a lot, like, having that works best for me. Like, having really in my system, and then I can work on other stuff, and then it's also indeed easier to add stuff, or like change stuff. Mm-hmm. For me, that works best like that.
What was the most fun part for you, drumming wise, in terms of for that show? I'm curious.
In this specific show?
Yeah.
It was in general really overwhelming. I don't know. I'm thinking. Because everything, like, it was like the energy, but and I think the dances, because the dance was really fun. I remember that, like, with the accents and stuff. I love to work with dancers.
So you would accent some of their moves, is what you're saying?
Yeah. But yeah. So I like that very much, like the combination, when you can really, like, when it's really get together in that way, like, but everything, like, because it was just, but I think also because it was my first, like, show like that, everything. But the band was also, like, it was great. The arrangements were really awesome with the music director. We did a few. I did a few shows with him. He's amazing. I love how he arranges the music, and so. Yeah, so it is like a combination of, like, the vibe on stage, the energy, the work with dancers, the arrangements. It was. But I'm thinking, like, because I have to say that it is a long time ago, so I don't know, like, one specific moment. But it was also, I'm thinking now, there's a moment with a clown, for example.
Okay.
And I had, like, there was kind of a drum solo thing, and then he had, like, kind of a joke thing. And I remember at first I thought, oh no, I felt a little bit awkward. I don't know, like, it felt a little bit weird. But in the end, it was a really fun part, because it was also free. I could do kind of a solo and then have to stop, and then it was like a moment where I was like, I made a mistake or something like that. And in the end, for example, that was also really fun, because you have a moment that you, it was. I remember that it was also really fun. Like, even stuff I felt a little bit like, oh, is it, can I do this? And then in the end, it was also fun. It was a combination of everything. Yeah.
Well, it feels basically you could be more free. You could improvise and sort of interact basically with the
exactly, and that's what that makes it extra fun if you can do that. Yes, definitely.
Cool. Very nice. So how long did that last? I'm curious.
This was it was not so long. I think it was a half-year tour, something like, but full time, like every week. It was, I think, and then often 1 week in one city, and then I think we toured for half a year.
Okay.
So, and it was it. Like, it was a half-year tour, but full time. That was the only thing I could do, because 6 days in a week and 1 day off.
Okay, so six shows per week, basically, around.
Yeah, I think we had double in the weekends as well. Something like that. I think Monday off, and then Saturday, Sunday, probably 2 shows. I think it was this kind of this schedule. Yeah, cool. So it was intensive, but it was But it was also fun, because, of course, Holland is a small country, but we, like, sometimes we were staying in a hotel, or we booked with a group, and so we stayed at different places. And so it was like, it was a fun time as well.
Was that the first time you were traveling across your country, or?
Yeah, well, yeah, I think so. That it really was staying at like 1 week, at different locations, and of course, like for separate gigs, but like this really so intensively, and then just one show. That was the first. That was my first experience with that. Yes.
How did you deal with playing so many shows per week? Were you back on what Tuesday? We're like, oh, I'm so tired, or you're like, yay, I'm excited.
Yeah, yeah. That's a question. I don't think I never felt that it was too much or something. I think it was really yeah. I don't remember also like I think it was always like we also always have to like build our like have to set up my own kit. So, but it was also relaxed. I always take the time. I was early, and you had to have all day. I'm thinking like it's coming back as we.
Sorry, I'm going in the past for you.
No, I'm 100% sure I was not tired. Of course, you can be tired, and on Sunday you feel like, oh, yeah, of course, like normal. But also, it wasn't like definitely it's just a half year. So. I remember like because I don't get sick often or something. I remember because we didn't have backups or anything, and that we were saying, oh, what happens like if we don't have a backup? And then the MD told us, he said, you just don't get sick. And I remember he was saying, and I said, oh yeah. So I remember like I was like having good I like living healthy, and he was saying that if you like you're like responsible, like of course. So I had my rest on my rest day. That was a good thing because when you're freelancer, that's a difference from then I was freelance and then you do different projects, but it's like you're never off. You can always practice stuff. You have your administration you have to do. Like there's always stuff you have to do. So you never have the feeling now I have a day off or something. But when you do this kind of productions, you feel it's really like your day off is your day off. You feel like okay now I need So if you could rest and then it was fine. And when we started again, I'm sure it was always like fine. Let's go. Really not tired or anything. No.
You felt refreshed.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, and I think because we had so much fun, and it was just. I think I was so grateful to be in that show. I just was like, I felt good, and it was never like too much or anything.
Cool. Is this afterwards? Is this where you go to? I'm sorry, my Dutch isn't as great as it used to be because I've toured a lot of Holland actually. It's not Holland, because I know Holland is a province, not the country. But then you moved to a drumming band called Slagerij van Kampen. I think that's what.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Slagerij van Kampen. Yes. Okay. It was. It was more like that. I substituted one of the drummers there. She was pregnant, so that. Okay. I think a half year, and that's like what it was. That was an interesting show to do as well because it was like only percussion, and it was a cool. Probably so that like it's a really awesome drum kit you play on, like with a kick drum in front of you.
Yeah.
So standing, but it was it was also like a few months I substituted for her, and they had a theater tour as well. Yes.
So talk to me about that project. There's a lot to because now it's not music; it's mostly drumming, I believe.
Yes.
So is it? Do you receive a chart of all drumming, or just go?
Yes.
Okay, got to go rehearsal with the guys and figure out the parts? Or
this was, I have to say, this was something different. It was this was a tour. The first time they played with horns as well, but normally before that they only played with drummers with and a keyboard player, but. Indeed, so it's only drums, and it was interesting, this project, because this one I took a lot of time for preparation, because it was, and it's not so free. You have like really the patterns, and you have to really stick to the patterns. Of course, there's small moments of solo, and one, like they called it, like one entr'acte that we have to we made ourselves. I remember that was more like with percussion, but. Other than that, everything was fixed. So it was totally on scores, different patterns. And it was something, if you hear it the first time, you feel like, I'm never gonna, like, how I'm gonna, gonna have this in my head. But of course, this one, you really cannot read. Like, you have to have it in your, you have to know it by heart. So, but it was so interesting, like, because it was all different patterns and then all coming together with a different percussion, like other drummers. But it was like, it took time, but same way what I did, like what I always do, like listening to it a lot, trying, also look for, especially I think this one also the whole listening, see it as a whole phrase, not like, oh, it's for, but like, because it was, yeah, it's something it's not predictable at all. So everything is like, yeah.
Do you think of it more as a melody and less of a drum
Yeah.
part? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So, but it's so also for that I listened to it a lot. I remember I was on. It was because it was in like during summer holiday. I had to prepare, and the girl I was replacing said, "Well, I don't know if you're, if you have time, just to." But it's I advise like to really take the time for it and listen to it a lot. So I was doing that. Like I remember I was at the beach, but I like still in like listen.
You're air drumming.
Yeah, exactly. Like because I just to get to know the music, but that was it was something totally different. That was my first experience with this kind of music, but it was really amazing to do. Also, I like the energy with this group. It's also really cool. And again, like because the patterns, it's all, and you listen to your part, but what is you don't understand yet? What's the idea?
But they mix with the other one. I imagine it makes sense.
Yeah. And also with the good sounds, because also you don't have like the right sound. It's just to get the idea and to prepare. But then when we got in the rehearsal room, and then I was hearing like the total picture and all the parts, and I was like, wow, this is so cool. And then it was really nice. But this one took a while before I had it in my system. Yeah.
Did you grow some arms after a few months? Because for those who, I'll put up a photo, but basically it's 3 big drum sets that you play mostly with your hands.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's different, it's like a drummer's dream basically.
Yeah.
But you have a lot of power going basically.
Yeah. Because especially with the kick, it's so low, it's so heavy. Yeah. It was awesome. It was a really also such a great show to do with them, and also the group. Also, it was really it was something different. It was really special.
Cool, very nice. So go check that out. I invite people to go check that out. When does the Cuban music or the percussion part of come? Is that afterwards, or is that in between from the first show to Soleil? Because I've seen you part with a group called, and I hope to say this correctly, Zule Max.
Zule Max, yes.
Yeah. Was that afterwards?
I think this was right after Slagerij van Kampen, like right after. Yeah, that was like it's all a female group, and a girl asked me like, "Oh, would you like to replace me in this project?" And I was listening, and it was interesting because I never listened to Cuban music or salsa. I thought, oh, I don't know why, but I never thought about that. And then I was listening, and said, "Wow, but what do I play? I don't know nothing. Like how what?" So I went to a rehearsal. And then and I saw her setup. So wow, this is so cool. But yeah, so I remember like I was filming her. Which, in the end, it's actually a few patterns in the end, but still like it's a totally new language. And I remember I had like 1 month to study this material, and I really locked myself up also for this one was because it is like totally new language.
It's Cuban music is so different, and the feel is so different. It's so
that time no one like it's everything like no one but with the bass like everything is different. Like then you're of course you have Latin, there are songs you played with like and you have like songos, stuff like that. So of course when you're used to playing different styles, but still like playing this with the timbales and then a little bit with the hi-hat and snare and bass drum, which makes it really awesome too to add those. And with the 2 campanas, like the mambo bell and the bongo bell. So also like playing that and like even for example playing the bongo bell right. So if you see these guys play, it's amazing, like this time and keeping their time for the whole song and intensity, stuff like that. It's not, you think, if you only have to do that, but like playing that, it's not something you have to, think easy about, because doing that is already,
I was practicing my Prof the Mambo Bell.
Yeah.
Just those ding, 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 just doing the tip to the accent.
Yeah.
It's like, what?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So it's something, and then playing those together, like like doing it well. Like for me, I did. I think for the first time I was happy already because it's everything. You have to know the songs, but then you have the accents, and as timbalier, you have to like play towards the accents as well. For example, stuff like that. So I was like happy, and I felt like, okay, now But from then, I so many, and I got tips from somebody. Oh, make sure you like, for example, the bongo bow. I didn't hear it. Make sure the accents also are you play that well because it's so important. So I got a lot of feedback during also from the singer. She's like awesome, but she can be like really not clear in what she wants to hear, for example.
Yeah.
So
how did it go with the show? After a month of practicing and doing the show?
Yeah.
Talk to me about your first show with that group. I'm curious.
I was so nervous. It was like a festival somewhere in Belgium, and it was kind of like a big stage. I felt like, oh no, but and I remember it was funny. This one I had the scores. I knew the songs, but still I had my scores. And I know it was. I didn't. It was. I don't know why, but I didn't have an iPad then, so it was with all my scores on beside me. But it was windy, and I remember the scores were flying away at some point. Of course, it was great, but I knew the songs. But I know it was stressful because I knew the songs, but still you feel like, because it's so much information. And I was a little bit worried I would like lose it. That I had my scores next to me if I need them, but then they flew away, and I said, okay, fuck it, I just have to do it.
Yeah.
But it was kind of, I have to say, like the first one was better maybe than the second one. I remember the third one, but that was a kind of big festival in somewhere in Germany, and then I don't know what it was. Also, we were really far apart, and we only had a line check. And the music, with the horns, it can be really cool, but it can be also like tricky with all the parts and the accents So I remember one gig. It was 1 hour and a half, like like 1 hour.
Intermission.
Intermission, and I felt like everything was drifting away from me, and I felt really like it was not going well at all. It wasn't that things were like really went wrong or something that it would have, but still it felt like it didn't lock. We were not together, and then I remember the Cuban singer was saying, yeah, we have to come back to more rehearsal like this. She was not satisfied, and the funny thing is, then sometimes right when you listen back, then you feel like, oh, it's not so bad actually. It felt terrible, but it was not so bad. And the other way around too, when you think, oh, it was good, and you listen, oh no, maybe not, maybe not so good. So so it depends. Sometimes but I remember the first one was really felt good. Like, wow, I was really happy that I had it. That I remember everything because So
it's a lot of information, especially for a new style, basically.
Yeah. It was. But it was also so much. I love this. For me, I love this music. So I was just really so happy that I got to know this music, and so it was good. But like, I have to say, what the music still is really so. Still sometimes when we have gigs, it feels like, oh, before you read, because it needs time together. Also with time, you need to practice. It's not like everybody has their scores and it's there. You need to practice this, be together, and actually play a lot together before it's
before it's tight and it's flowing. I understand.
So it's and also with this music, like, because it's good, like for example, I have the tendency to play a little bit in front, which can be good, but sometimes not. That we relax too, like working on that. Like I think it needs time, and especially like for this kind of music, and then the thing is, like, it can be really cool. But if it doesn't, if it doesn't lock, it's, then it's.
No, because it's not pop music where basically everybody's hitting the 1, 2, 3, 4. There's so many accents, and there's so many. And for me, my question was, how did you figure out the clave? Because that's still that's still the thing I'm trying to figure out sometimes. Is it 3-2? Is it 2-3? Is like, which one is it?
Yeah.
There's a lot going on.
There's also like something. The funny thing is, like, I was thinking a lot about the clave, and I remember there was also a project of this female group with a big band, And then remember, we were really in the like we're getting new material, working on that. And then I was going to the Cuban singer often like, oh, but this is like 3/2. But how does and then she was calling me the clave police because I wanted to know exactly like how does And but funny thing is like, I think people from like they don't think too much about it.
No, exactly.
But I'm not from there. I have to think about it, like, oh, how does it work, and more. But for them, it's like not thinking, but just knowing somehow. But sometimes it's. But you hear sometimes, yeah. I think you hear it like the whole. Also for this, like listening to everything, what's happening, and then it's kind of logic. Then often you feel it, especially when you have to like figure out a lot of songs. But still, it can be some tricky. And remember that she also had to think, but she was, don't worry, like too much. And for me, it was getting a thing. Oh, how does it work with this clap? Because you don't want to be wrong. Like if somebody is in the house and it's say, oh, but I would feel terrible. So I wanted like to,
I think that's a European or North American thing because I was kind of the same. I remember asking a prof and he's like, I asked him and he just went, I don't know. And he started playing and he couldn't really tell me because he was just like, this is what it is.
Yeah.
It's so natural that he doesn't think it that way. So
exactly. Yeah.
Cool. Do you still play with the group?
Yes. Well, I'm gonna play with them again. But they're still working on different projects, different formations. So yes.
Have you been to Cuba, or would you like to go to check out the bands over there?
Yeah, I've been to Cuba. Like a few years later that I started that project, I went to Cuba also to take some lessons. Also from his name is Roissel Riberon, and he's really amazing with like timba, like playing the bongo ball with his left hand and then playing the drums, and like he's the man, on timba, like it's crazy. So I got a lesson from him, which was really interesting. And then I went to a festival, I remember in Havana, and I saw like groups as Bamboleo, Elito Reve, Michael Blanco, and I thought, wow, this, like for me, it was really inspiring. This energy and the rhythm sections, like, and yeah, it's really, because that's interesting for me, and I can learn so much more about timba, like learning, like playing the drums in this music, but like of course knowing the tradition, of course, and then from then, but that's something, that, of course, like it's so different when you're not from there. So yeah. So
it's a different thing. It's a completely different thing. Yeah. No, I understand. No, that's very nice. Cool.
Yeah. So.
So moving along to other projects, when did Soleil arrive? When does Amaluna arrive for you?
I started that. I'm thinking like, because I did in 2018, I think, end of 2018, I did an integration for Amaluna. So like start of 2019, I did Amaluna. So they asked me. It was really like short notice, what often is the case, I think. So I remember I got an email maybe in September or something, and then saying, it's in November it starts in China or something. And I thought, I cannot do like so short notice. I have stuff here, I cannot. But I thought, what the hell? I'm just gonna do the audition. I love the music, so I'm gonna. And it's always like, it's never for nothing. You can always do the audition. Like you learn the music, it's fun to do as well. Right. So I felt like, okay, I'm just gonna try, and then probably it's not possible. So, but whatever. And I wasn't expecting anything anyway. So, and then it went quite fast. I think like a month later, we were already talking about going and blah, blah, blah. And then, so I remember I like around Christmas time, that was the integration. I flew to Colombia. Then Amaluna ended South America. So I went there for the integration in Montreal. And then 2019, I was a drummer, and then we started in Dallas, I think. So it was a tour in North America, Canada.
Cool. And how difficult was it to learn the show? Was it, or were you already like sort of used to it, and it's the same thing as the other circus productions?
No, this one was really different because the other, like for example, Stiletto was really, everything was fixed. Nothing, like everything was fixed. No, maybe only except for like a MIDI drum solo but that was it. Other than that, everything was fixed. And for me, that what was really new was of course, because in Cirque du Soleil you have like parts which are on a loop, so they work with Ableton, and then it can be like, I remember like that was listening to the music, but what's happening here? And that was because it was a loop, for example, and then you get a 3/4 going to a next section. And remember, this was like, but it doesn't make, at that moment, of course, when you have the visual, but musically it didn't make sense to me. And
because you're not seeing what's going on stage, basically.
Exactly. Yeah. And then it's weird. So I was thinking, what is that? What is happening? How to prepare this? But then when you get that idea, of course, it takes a little bit of time. It's a different way of playing. But then, of course, like you get used to that, and then it's all good, and then you understand the whole picture. And but I remember that was some the most new thing for me. But like other than that, like in general, like sections, you're used to prepare yourself, and then songs, and a lot of songs is often okay. Like I understand the structure like this, but it was also like a really nice show, really great music, like a lot of odd meter stuff, and really cool, really the cool stuff to work on. So it was, it was like, of course, for everything you need to prepare. It takes time, of course, to know the songs. But I remember this was like the only thing I really had to get used to, like rhythm, like to react, sometimes.
To react in terms of to the stage of what's playing musically.
Well, that too. That's the two things. But I mean, like reacting like on the in time for the 3/4, for example. Like that's something I get used a little bit in the beginning. Oh yeah, because it felt like a little bit like not natural, maybe. But and then like before you have that. But I remember that was. But indeed, and also like of course, first you need to know the music. That's most important. And then as a drummer, of course, often you have to like mark the acts. So that was.
What was your setup? Do you have electronic stuff? Is it all acoustic? I'm curious.
We had there was one SPD I used, and other than that, it was it was a big kit, but a lot of cymbals. It was it wasn't really like one big playground to be. Yeah, it was an awesome kit, but like SPD, that's the only. Oh yes, no, only SPD. Yeah, okay. Some sounds. Yeah.
Were you sort of integrated into the stage, or are you sort of background on the stage? How did it work for that show for you?
I'm a Luna. It was like kind of with the drums behind the plexiglass at the like end of the stage. I feel like behind a little bit. I think there was lighting, so you could see me, but of course it was far. And then I did animation, like one every other show, animation with djembe, that animation for the audience. So I did that, for example, and that was it actually. Like so, and then at the end you could run to the front and say, yeah. So yeah. It's often the case with the drums. It's of course loud. So, but you have some shows though where drums have more or solo, and So it depends. Every show is different. So it depends if they can. Depends of the show.
Was it your first time in North America? I'm curious.
Yeah. Yeah, it was. Well, not like I was in New York before, but I think other than that, it was my first time in North America. Yeah.
What's your impression of Canada? Cold?
Cold. Oh yes, but Montreal I loved very much. Like it was cold, but I don't mind because it was snowing. I like extreme, so I liked it because it was really I like snow as well. For me, I like this, but I like different seasons. So I like the snow. I thought, but the thing was in Montreal, it was so busy with the schedule. So I was only at the headquarters, and sometimes I went in the town to have some dinner. But it was mainly the headquarters where. But I know, of course, a lot of people living in Montreal, and I always say, I have to go back. But definitely, I want to go back in summer, for example, because I know then it's great and the weather is nice. But I like the winter too. It was really nice. So it's definitely a place I want to go go back. And North America, yeah, every city is different. I feel like always there's a nice, you can always find a nice place. So every city has its charm. So it was, and it's especially so interesting to see the different culture, different places, different typical stuff from the city. So yeah, it was. I love America too. I had an amazing time there.
Cool, very nice. And is that when afterwards? I guess you ended with Amaluna because the show ended. Is that what happened?
With Amaluna, yes. Well, the show would end, but then we would end in Hong Kong. But then COVID happened, so we didn't go to Hong Kong. So we stopped a few months earlier than planned. But then otherwise it would have been a few months later. So in the end it was all good. Well, we were lucky because we could have say goodbye to each other, because then a week after we were home and then everything was shut down. We were really lucky to at least, say goodbye, because the world was crazy then. So probably a lot of people had to run back home and stuff like that. It was a really terrible time. So yeah, it was. I was just really grateful to have done the show for at least a year, a little bit more than a year, because if it had happened right away, it would have been because I wanted to play for Soleil for a few years. So I was so happy. So I was already happy to have done it. Could do the last run of Amaluna.
Very nice.
Yeah.
When does Hoya arrive?
That was exactly. I think now exactly a year ago I got an email.
You were talking about that, right?
Yeah. So and I got that they were looking for a drummer. So and then you do audition again. I did before Hoya. I did 2 events also, Cirque. And that's also really interesting to do, because then you have a creation, 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks, the show has to be ready, and then 1 month of shows. So I did one in Malta and one in Jeddah, Saudi, still during COVID times. And then yes, a year ago I got an email from not from, but I know the director from Hoya was also assistant director in Amaluna.
Okay.
So it was funny because I knew some people, still know some people who were in Hoya. So it was really nice because in the events I didn't see people back from Amaluna, but here I saw some people back, which is really special too.
So you got to see the family again, or your friends at least.
Yeah. That's really fun to see each other, because you never know when you say goodbye. You feel you of course you say, oh, we're going to see each other again, but then in COVID times you didn't know at all what's going to happen, if you're going to see each other. So it was really special, to see people again, and and then of course I did an audition again, playing the songs of this show, and then they asked me to come. So here I am.
Congratulations. Félicitations again. So this one, I think this one's more rocking, sort of rock music,
maybe, yeah. But I would say Amaluna was also really kind of rocky. At some point, it depends a little bit. But this one is I think the different influences. There's also kind of one kind of Gene Krupa kind of tom thing.
Oh, nice.
But also a piece where it's more orchestral or more swells, and also more rocky stuff as well. Yeah, so yeah. That's what I like different, it's different kind of influences you feel throughout the show, which I like very much. And then for me, it's important also there are pieces where I can really give energy, which I really like to do. So the music is amazing also, this show.
And this one, you're sort of a permanent resident. So it's a bit like Stiletto, where you're staying in one spot and you're doing the show constantly, basically.
This is one spot, yes.
Do you prefer being at one spot, or do you prefer traveling with a show? I'm curious.
You mean for in general, or within one show, or in general?
Within one show. So you were touring with Amaluna, and this one you're at one spot in Mexico. Yeah. Do you prefer to tour a show at different cities, or stay one spot?
Oh no, I prefer touring. I would. No, but it both like have it has its advantages. So both is really. But in the end, I like touring very much because you get to see different places and yeah. And it's also easier sometimes to go home. So yeah. So
right, because you're closer to home, so you can yeah.
yeah, then you have some, and then what is really for me big advantage for like a touring, you have a break, and then you come back, and then you have like a premiere night, and it feels really, that kind of like that. So yeah, that's. But like again, it depends what kind of person you are. Maybe sometimes like some people like really like to stay. So it depends what. But for me, I think in the end, I prefer touring. But like both are really like. Great to do.
Is that the difficulty of playing a show? So that not to be able to go back home as often, is that sort of thing?
Yeah. I think that's one. Makes it a little bit more difficult, definitely. But also like it's also like really beautiful to be. It's such a different place, so it's also really great to be here. But yes, of course, like you have your home, and it's also like very important.
Cool. Let's not get sad.
Yeah, exactly.
Can you give me an example of a song you were playing and it sort of went not too good, and how did you recuperate in any of the shows that you played? I'm just curious. How do you deal with a song that's crashing and people are just all over the place?
I'm thinking.
Sorry, I didn't mean to make you think.
No, I'm thinking because the thing is like it depends. Somehow I went.
Does that never happen? That's a possibility.
I'm thinking it can happen, of course. Like I'm thinking like there were, but the thing is like when I'm not a band leader, so it's like when it happens in Cirque, it's not like me. I of course you can adjust and try. For me, for example, like sometimes it's a little bit tricky for the band leader to call out like a certain cue, and then but I see like visually, I try to maybe anticipate on that, for example. But in general, I'm in this kind of productions, I'm not the one who is one who has to keep everybody in that together, because you're dependent on the track and
Okay.
Track. But maybe for example the Cuban music, I'm thinking, because that can be really tricky.
Yes, well, in Cuban music, you're more of the leader because of the rhythm section.
Yeah,
but it's kind of depending on you.
Yeah, exactly. But for example, with the big band, I'm thinking the female singer, she's also like the director. So, but then still you're the one, and like with the drums, who can like lead, like be more forceful. Going to an end, for example. Yeah, I'm trying to think of an example, like because sometimes things can happen and it happens, and you just try to make the best of it, and then stop, and then just you feel like, oh, let's just go on. And
yeah, well, that was going to say is just don't stop.
Yeah, often is that the case, and I think like the trick is also like sometimes like just because the thing is like often for the audience they don't know, because they don't know the piece, so it's not for them, like they can like feel like, oh, this is weird, or what is is this the way it's meant, or but still I think in general it's because even now when I feel like, oh, it's not really like the time, but then people won't.
It's more you being judging yourself than what
exactly
it feels. Yeah,
I understand, yeah. And of course people can hear, and not that, but I think in general it's, and I think also like if something happens, I think the beautiful thing is I was thinking that last time, like of course but still it's live, then it's still much more, you feel it much more than it's only a track, for example. Then people make mistakes, okay, but we're humans, or something, things can happen, but still it's live, it's reacting, and if things happen, well, whatever, like it can happen, and then but I think that in general it's good to say, like, try to do as if it's it's normal somehow, not like, oh, or stop, but I think just try, continue, and then just make the best out of it. I'm sorry, I cannot think of a really
no, that's okay, that's a good thing, that means you've had good luck and you never had the
well, but I'm thinking like not really that sometimes it's just like it was, for example, there was because there's some moments I'm thinking there was just like a cut, so the music stopped, and I thought, did I make a mistake? Did I have to stop? But so I was playing. I only was hearing myself because everything was cut, and of course I only was hearing.
Oh, I mean, your monitors just went out. Okay.
Yeah, everything went out, like everything, also on stage, everything. And I thought, oh, what to do? And I was playing. I thought, okay, yeah, but if maybe I made a mistake, I'm playing, and I don't, I need to stop. Sometimes you just like I try to like make a good cut, and then it came back again, and then I was, okay, oh no, we're not there, and then I jumped in again. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, the thing is like you cannot prepare these kind of stuff. So some things happen, and you have to decide at that moment. And this was a good decision, because if I would have played, then it would have come back. Probably would have been not exactly in time. So this was good, like to stop, but not like just find a good moment to stop somehow, and then listening, and then reacting again. And this something that kind of just a reflex. It's sometimes we prepare for stuff, but like, oh, if this happened, let's. But still, you don't. If some stuff happens, you still have to see how to react, and
just continue basically.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
What else would you like to do? I mean, you've done a lot of the Cirque stuff. You've done a lot of the productions. What is it that you would like to do next, or what future projects that you would like to accomplish?
Well, I think I would like. I think in these days, like working with Ableton is really important. So I'm that. I don't know if not especially to call the show, but like to be able to, and also like work on stuff like my own ideas, and being able to like find cool sounds and stuff like. So I'm working on that too, like because that's also fun. That's a different process, like besides playing, but also like having ideas, and we have so great stuff.
To be creative, basically.
Creative, yes. Yeah. Sounds you can work with and stuff like that. So I want to work on that, like maybe like being able to make stuff myself as well, and like putting like, but still like for the timba, for example, the music, I can learn still a lot, like working on that too. And maybe like put everything together, because I like to do percussion. I like to do backing vocals as well. I like different styles of music, so I want to work on that and try to integrate everything.
Okay.
Yeah.
Something pop, maybe Cuban, something.
Yeah, classical. I like to. I love global world music. Like a lot of influences coming together. Yeah. So, but I think like it's important. Like I feel nowadays, like to be able, of course, next to also mastering different styles, which is also a lot of work. Only that, but also like being able to do other stuff. And I think like working with electronics is also important.
Do you have time to do that while you're doing this show right now in Mexico?
Yeah, there's time definitely to work on that. Yes, there's time. Somehow the days fly here, I have to say also, but yeah, there is time. But I always practice also in the mornings, for example, and then so I don't know, and then you start your makeup at a certain time, and I always like I don't like rush. So I start early with everything, but yes, there's definitely time
to work on. What is a normal day basically for you? I'm just curious.
And like in general, like I practice in the mornings, go to the theater, because like from often like 12 they start with the inspections and stuff, so that's till that time I can practice, and then often I go home. I also have contact with my boyfriend at home, and I have to work, like answer emails, stuff like that, and I also do workouts here, like run outside, like and then I don't know, before you know it, at 3:30 I always go to the theater. Sometimes we have extra rehearsals, so and then if we have one show, it's till around 8:30, and if we have two shows, it's till around 11:30.
Cool. Yeah. And if you have to name one artist or a performer you would love to play with, who would that be? Curious.
Ooh. Wow, that's a good question. That's a good.
Sorry.
Yeah, like it's not this moment. I feel I think it's more like the type of music. Like for example, I could play in it could play the timba music on, but it's more about the music than it's a certain artist at this moment. For the change, it changes every time. But for me now, it's more like about the style, working on that and mastering that. Yeah.
Cool.
I'm still thinking. Maybe I think of somebody, but no.
So you want me to do a drum roll?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. No, I cannot think of a name.
That's okay. That's okay.
I listen to a lot, but it's not like I want. It's more like, again, like working on a style, which I want to really get better. But yeah,
you want to personally get better at your instrument and your vocabulary is what you're saying.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. Nice. Very cool. And lastly, do you still teach, or do you? I mean, you're not there now, but do you still teach? Is the drum school from your dad still going? Correct.
It's still going. Yes. So my boyfriend is leading. It's his school.
Okay.
So he's doing that, and I was teaching before I came here. Like that, I've been doing that a lot. Like, and depending, of course, if I'm there or not. And during COVID, it was a lot of online lessons. For example, I did. Right. So it depends a little bit. But I might do it probably when I go back. I will teach again. It depends. So it's periods that I definitely that I teach.
And do you like teaching? Do you like teaching to younger, older?
Yeah, any age for me, it doesn't matter. Like if people are like passionate and wanting to learn, then it's enough. So that age doesn't matter. And yeah, I like to teach. Like it's fun to do, and working on that different depending on some people just come here just for having fun, which is also fine. Yeah. Depending a little bit. That's why in periods it's I love to do that too. So yeah, and I love to work with kids too, like the energy and the ideas they come with, but like so yeah, it's really really fun to do.
Yeah, no, it's pretty rewarding. I found that teaching basically often, when they ask me a question I don't know it, I'm like, oh God, I don't know. Let me think about that, and then it teaches me something,
Exactly. Yeah, you can learn from, and it's also like sometimes they because I like different styles of music, and it keep learning from. But then they come, of course, with other types of music, and maybe which is more like more happening right now. And sometimes I tend to like listen to older music or like older depends a little bit. But it's good because you get to new music. Oh no, this is fun. This is really good, So you can learn new music too because of that. So yeah, you learn from students, and so yeah, it's also.
Let's just say my double bass kick is getting better because some students have asked me some questions about double bass.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is not my style.
Yeah, good, right? So that's definitely a good thing.
Cool. And lastly, any tips to anybody who wants to do what you do, to play for Cirque, to play anybody, any tips you would like to share?
I'm thinking, like I think it's important, like for me also like be like listen, make recordings, for example. I do that a lot and listen. And like it's also good to like stay, critical, and then I want to work on that and that. But I think maybe in general that it's important, like to keep having fun. That's most for me. Like also I can always get, for example, have nerves. I'm like kind of always like, and then I feel like. Just have. I'm sitting here because I want to do this. It is like the, keep the idea of, that you're there to enjoy.
Yeah. And keep it fun. Keep enjoying it. Basically, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
Emilie, thank you so much for your time. I hope I wish you a good show today. I guess it's show time very soon.
Yeah.
And, thank you so much. If anybody wants to check out your website or Facebook, where can they reach you?
On my you can find me on my name on Instagram and Facebook, and my website is emiliecleuver.com, and that's it.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much for taking the time. It was very nice, and I wish you a great year.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for the interview too, and I wish you all the best too.
Thanks so much.
All right. Have a good day. Bye-bye.
So thank you so much, Emilie. Thank you so much to you all. Thank you so much for watching tonight. I wish you all the best. Come back next week for another interview of Drumfills Café. Until then, all the best. Ciao.